Long before people or even mammals walked this earth, beings ruled this world with a viciousness and cunning that hasn't been seen since. I am talking about dinosaurs. Do they still walk among us, or are they really extinct? Well, let's find out on Cryptid Talk. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone had a good week and is looking forward to the weekend. Uh, Where'd my drink go? There, hello, drink. Do I have anything to really update everyone on? Nah, not that much. The only thing is that I have been approved for a BFRO expedition coming next year in June. And so that's pretty exciting. I haven't been on a BFRO expedition since last year, the end of September into October, where I had the encounters that I talked about on the show here before. But that's gonna be really exciting. It's always fun because these BFRO expeditions, if you ever get a chance to go on them, I highly recommend it. Besides going to areas where you have a good chance of having some sort of encounter, whether or not you see anything or not, but more or less maybe like hear something, are definitely improved on these expeditions. And so if you ever get a chance, you definitely recommend it because also besides just that, the amount of like what's the word for it? Uh, I can't think of the word right now. Just being around people with the same interests around you, makes you like build, not build like friends or it's on the tip of my tongue. Okay, you kind of like network a little bit. You meet people of similar interests, and if they live nearby, then you can plan your own little trips with people and with their like-minded as you and stuff like that. And so, definitely recommend it. No matter wherever you are, whatever state or anything that you do live in, look into your BFRO expeditions for next year and give them a whirl because they are definitely a lot of fun. And I wish I could go on a lot more other places. So, so I hope everyone's having a good day, and I hope you're ready for this week's episode. And of course, if your first time here, welcome. My name's Michael Madden, and if you like what you hear, please follow my Facebook page and give it a like. But then also, of course, if you're listening to this, you're on YouTube, so be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. All the normal YouTubey stuff, and because all that different stuff, the subscribing and all that helps me a great bunch, especially gets me more noticed gets me more recommended on other people's feeds, and gets more attention for me and everything else like that for this show to become bigger. So originally my goal was to get to 100 subscribers for the year. Don't think we're gonna get there, but let's see if we can get to 50. Which right now, as of recording this, I'm at 41. So make sure the liking, sharing, the sharing stuff really comes into play here. So, make sure you let those people know so we can get to that 50 goal. Because and this is an equivalent to this, but I'm also working on an episode right now where it requires just a bit more digging into things, maybe even some cryptids I've never even heard before, but digging the cryptids of into it for a particular reason. I don't want to spoil it or anything like that, but it's gonna be a very different, interesting episode, and hopefully, when it is ready to be recorded, hopefully you'll be interested in it. And also, I have also put in. I've also been asking since the last guest episode, our first guest episode we had on with Mark Marcel went so well. I mean, of course, it is Mark's awesome. I started asking other people if they would be interested in being in the show. And so at the moment, it seems we've got a few people who are like, obviously, of course, it's getting close to Christmas and people are gonna be busy and stuff like that. So it seems that expect sometime in the new year we should be having our next guest, hopefully. Who we'll see, but I'm just kind of going around asking people now, seeing if they're interested, and if they are, great. We will go from there. So let me get to my thinger. Okay, there you go. Actually, do I really need this? I don't. All right, so today's episode, like you heard from the intro itself, we are doing dinosaur cryptids that are seen on. Goodness, dinosaur cryptids are seen all over the world. They're like obviously some areas more than others when it comes to this stuff, but definitely like sure. All right, well let's get into it a little bit. Dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago. Very long time. And now, obviously, of course, dinosaurs. Actually, I can't believe I even forgot to do this. How long were dinosaurs on Earth? Dinosaurs were on Earth for 165 million years. So, pretty. That's something that's so crazy to me. That there were these beings, these creatures that in reality technically shouldn't exist anymore, that ruled this planet. In all different shapes and sizes and everything. And of course, it's evolution is just so fascinating that and that we have on this planet. We had starting off with all the different forms of evolution, from everything in the water, and then things starting to get on the ground and evolving into the dinosaurs that we know and love today. The fact that evolution evolved them into all these different unique shapes, characteristics, just all this, it is mind-boggling. Like, evolution itself is just something that is just crazy. And honestly, and I'm not even kidding. Like, that is crazy that we had things like this on this earth, that some designs of some of these creatures don't really exist in today. There are some, but not a lot. But and honestly, it's like mind-boggling to me that evolution that started off from nothing, the world, to the smallest microorganisms, evolved into something that was like 40, 50, 60 feet tall or long, or weighed weighed so many tons. But it all started as this tiny little thing, something that we couldn't even see with the naked eye. That's, of course, that took so long to get to that point. But the fact that it got to that point is remarkable. And now we're down to us little ape people, running around and everything else like that. Yes, we are apes. We evolved from apes. We don't have tails, but that's how we know we're ape. But if you feel your tailbone or stuff like that, yeah, we were, or something like that, we were apes. So get over it, people. We evolved from apes. But it is fascinating that some of these some of these designs from dinosaurs. It's just so like, how did evolution came up with that? It's like, let's get that thing a spiked face. Let's get that one thing a spiked tail. And let's make this thing like a tall meat eating monster. Let's. It's crazy that we had amazing creatures alive during this time. I love it. Dinosaurs like so many boys growing up. Dinosaurs captivated the imagination, the love of so many young boys and kids growing up. Like, I remember, oh man, I remember when I was a kid, and I don't believe that's come back since, or I feel like it might have gotten renamed as something else, like a new brand, like later down the line, maybe in the past like 5-10 years. But when I was a kid, I went to a thing in Philadelphia called Dino Fest, and I believe I got a coin for it. It's somewhere, but it was like one of those things. They have like those giant animatronic dinosaurs and everything like that. But around that time, After this, though, Jurassic Park 2 came out. The Lost World came out. And in that movie, there had one of my favorite paleontologists growing up, Robert Barker. I remember like seeing stuff about him and like everything like that. It was like fantastic. And unfortunately, in the movie, he does die. Yeah, the T Rex does eat him. But overall, like I was too much of a chicken as a kid to go meet him, and I kind of wish I did because it was probably my only opportunity to go there. But I saw him there. I was like, oh my god, that's him. My parents apparently took a picture of me like kind of like behind him a bit, like in the distance, and it went across and got me this excited face of me going, ee, this little excited little face as I see him holding, I believe it was some sort of claw for some sort of dinosaur. I don't know which kind, but he was holding like a fossil, a claw of one, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. It's like I was like, my little brain was going crazy. Like, ah. So I think I was somewhere between like 6 and 8 ish, somewhere around there. But I was just like, there it is, there he is, kind of thing. So probably the first time I was ever starstruck without even knowing what the word even was at all. so dinosaurs are just so fascinating, and yet of course everyone says they went extinct, but did they? Well, let's find out. Other fun fact is that the word dinosaur actually means monstrous lizard. Even though technically, like, most of them really aren't considered really lizards, because we've been learning stuff about dinosaurs we've been learning more about like so much that there's so many different little weird ones and stuff like that. Like, oh, the T-Rex actually didn't really roar as we think. They actually probably sounded more like this, and yada 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 yada. All these different things. But some of the more interesting things is that dinosaurs in reality technically really aren't lizards. We kind of just go at that by thinking like they have like the scales, like the rougher skin, leathery skin they seem to have. Well, it turns out that some dinosaurs, like some species of velociraptors, some versions like a T-Rex or something similar to them, a lot more of them probably actually had feathers or hair when growing up, going at a certain point. Because, fun fact, I had a feeling it was this, but I want to be sure. I'm gonna give you a few moments. What do you think is the most modern day relative of a T-Rex? I'm gonna give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've thought about it a little bit. The closest living relative to a T-Rex, the king of pretty much one of the biggest dinosaurs of all time, the thing that every kid knows, a chicken. That's right. A chicken is the most modern day relative to a T-Rex. Not like an ostrich or an emu or a cassowary or anything like that. A little chicken. The thing you have on your family bucket on your dinner table within the past week or had it today. It's crazy. I know. The fact that monstrous thing involved in that witty bitty itty witty little chicken that we eat the eggs and it's delicious little eggs. Crazy, right? I know. It's it is fascinating, but also very delicious. I kind of want some. Actually, I had some chicken yesterday. Might be having some more later today. Hooray! So. So what killed the dinosaurs? Let's kind of look there because people say they went extinct 66, 65 more million years ago. What killed them? Well, my dear listeners, there are multiple different theories of what people think killed the dinosaurs. Some people think it actually, or so we got, we obviously got the most common one, the one that we all grew up with. One of the big main theories is that dinosaurs were wiped out from a meteor. There's so many different movies and cartoons and shows and games and whatever, so many different forms of media that talk about it in a way where a meteor is coming from space, crash lands on Earth, and then kills all the dinosaurs. Now, whether or not it killed them all right away, that's a whole other thing. There are multiple theories of what people believe. Some people believe that it was the coming ice age, that may have been that may have been even caused from the meteor or not. Some people also believe disease, some sort of disease that just went around and start taking out the dinosaurs and everything else like that. But some people think it also may have been a combination of things too, like the meteor came because when a meteor comes, especially of that size, like whatever wasn't killed from the initial strike itself may have died afterwards because the amount of soot and ash and all the debris that would have been in the sky for a very very long time would have blocked out the sun. And so during all that, so blocking out the sun, obviously, that would slowly start killing a lot of plants. That would start killing a lot of, and then when the plants start dying, the herbivores would start dying, and then when the herbivores stop dying, the carnivores start dying because all it just starts a chain reaction of this, and this, and this, and this. And so so that starts that whole chain reaction there. And then of course, then there's like the more recent one where they think that it was some sort of disease. Now, what kind of disease could kill the dinosaurs after them being around for so long? Hard to say. But that may be something we may never be able to know, but still a very interesting thing of people doing the other theories of what killed the dinosaurs besides just the simple meteor that we all originally taught, that we were all told, like, grew up with that theory that that is how they died. Hello, little one. And so yeah, so but I definitely do believe that a meteor was involved in some way, because there are craters here and there throughout Earth. Now whether or not which one did it, there may not even be any noticeable sign of what killed it, of it being around even today. But still fun little fact for sure. And then of course, then if the meteor is what initially started it, with that them blocking out the sun, that then my goodness, that will then start cooling down the Earth, which then might have also caused a very early ice age, which then started wiping out the dinosaurs because they're not used to the colder weather and only prefer the more warmer and stuff like that. And of course, evolution, they did to keep them around and all yada yada blah blah blah, kind of thing. Because obviously, in some way, in some form, some dinosaurs survived, because then we wouldn't have the modern relatives of ancient dinosaurs like we have today. The heck, you little weirdo. Minus minus chickens, normal reptiles like crocodiles, snakes, turtles, all these other animals that we know are around today. Obviously, some of them probably survived being in the water and stuff like that, but they at least survived to be able to live long enough to have the modern day versions that we have today. So now let's talk about a little bit of what are some of these modern day, dinosaur cryptids, you say. Well, before we do that, we're actually going to go, we're real quick, we're going to do one that used to be considered a cryptid, which is now a very modern day version of an ancient species. And of course, you probably know where I'm going with this, of being the coelacanth. Hold on, coelacanth, ancient fish. Okay, actually, how big was it during the dinosaurs? Let's see. And concealed cans raging for 30 minutes. Dang it, I always hear they do things in meters. I'm always thinking, but okay. So there are fossils of coelacanth long in the past, like obviously old fossils and stuff like that. And yet today, like many people, it being kind of like the signal for cryptozoology in a way, is the symbol of it is one of the most living fossils of all time, because there are fossil records of the coelacanth, and but we now know there are only 2 remote spots in the world where they do exist. So they are around and everything like that. So the kind of proves like, okay, well, sure, like who knows what truly lives in the oceans of the world. We may truly never know, but there's a sign right there. There's a species of fish that should have long been extinct. Sure, yeah, it's kind of hard. You can't kind of hard to compare prehistoric beings, animals that lived on Earth, on land, comparing them to water, because a lot of them probably survived a lot longer after dinosaurs went kapoom. And yet, because there is a lot, they probably were able to survive being in the water, and it may not have affected the water as much. But in some way, it probably did, but not as much as everything that probably lived on Earth, and possibly got like vaporized within like a second or anything like that. But that's a pretty good prime example of an ancient dinosaur species to a point of living today. But what are some other dinosaur cryptids that we haven't truly probably gotten figured out yet, and hopefully will someday? So a lot of these are cryptids that we have talked on the show here before. So I'm just going to briefly go over them, and then even some that would technically be considered as dinosaur cryptids, but not exactly. So of course we have Mokele mbembe, obviously, the sauropod dinosaur that lives in the Congo area of Central Africa. Its name meaning the one who stops the flow of the river. Of course, we possibly have the Loch Ness monster and Champ. Going by the descriptions, they do seem to have a very plesiosaur shape, like they have a plesiosaur like shape. So there's a possibility there. But again, we still don't even have a full idea of what Nessie and Champ and some of these possible other like lake monsters, river, like sea monsters are. But if we're going by just what the descriptions of what they look like and eyewitness reports and everything else like that, sure, let's go along with the fact that they are possibly there's a chance they might be some sort of plesiosaur. Let's go with that. So we got those two. We have the Partridge Creek monster, the black dinosaur that roams the Yukon area and parts of Alaska, terrorizing, scaring some locals and feasting on the local caribou and deer population. Another very interesting cryptid that I didn't know about, was at least in the past, like, what year did I graduate in? That was 7 years ago. So, a cryptid that I've learned about in the past like 8 or 9 years, which is it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very cool cryptid, very unique of where it is. If you missed that one, go listen to that episode, the Partridge Creek Monster. Probably, it's probably up there as one of the most interesting cryptids that I've never heard about until I did, and I'm like, this thing's awesome. Next, we have the I got to put this real quick. Kungamato, which is that pterosaur-like creature that has been seen in different parts of the world, in Africa, in Asia, where it possibly produces its own source of light. Also, on the same line, I kind of forgot about that. If it is what it is, the Van Meter visitor, it has a very pterodactyl kind of looking like shape. And of course, then also, the normal pterosaurs that are seen in a lot of central and western part of the U.S., and then, of course, other parts of the world. where they see like this giant winged, leathery winged creature flying about in the air, as it then terrorizes some people in different parts of the world. Because cause there are sightings of these things, and it's crazy. So some other less dinosaur ones, but definitely were alive during the time of dinosaurs, where it was Megalania, which was an ancient species of giant lizard that did live in the outbacks of Australia. But stories, even till today, are still coming in of people saying that they've seen Megalania, or they sit down on a log. They sit down on something I think is a log, and the next thing you know, the log starts moving and then runs away. Of course, and we also got Megalodon, the stories of the giant 60-foot shark or so that lives in the most remote parts of the ocean and only comes up for a moment to feed until it goes back down into the briny deeps. Obviously, knowing Megalodon does exist, but the only thing we really do know that Megalodon does is, of course, its teeth, because because everything else is made off like a very hard cartilage, but not made of bone. And then, I just going by last week, possibly Thunderbirds. The only reason why I say maybe Thunderbirds is because because there's so many theories of what Thunderbirds are, but if Thunderbirds are the one possible theory of them being Teratorns, which were an ancient species of prehistoric bird that has survived to modern day, I would consider that a little bit of it being like a dinosaur, like prehistoric, sure, a prehistoric bird. Sure, it would be a bit more. It wouldn't be as old as dinosaurs, but old enough to like. I would put on this list. Probably the same with like Megalania, but I would still put on the list. That's for sure. Drink. So very interesting. Those are those are like the little brief look at the cryptids that we have talked about on the show here before. So if this is your first time here and you're just listening to this and like, whoa, he's talked about some of this stuff, I should go listen. Think I have talked about all these different cryptids before, so go give it a listen in the go listen to it in the past in the past episodes I've done. Uh, Kangamato and like the pterosaurs are in the Van Meter Visitor episode. So go give that one a listen, because that one was a very interesting one, and they're all very interesting. The whole topic, the whole topic of cryptozoology is fascinating. There's so much mystery and so many questions and just so many things that we may not know a lot. We may never know about most of these things. But if we can slowly start nailing down the list of creatures, in this lifetime, that'd be great. Like in the very first episode, where I talked about like modern day animals to us, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that. Yeah, obviously I know those. A lot of modern day animals to us were once considered cryptids. Sure, the cryptids today may seem a bit more elusive or a lot more difficult to prove, but animals, they're like gorillas and the okapi and other animals like that were once considered cryptids, but now they're not. So hopefully in my lifetime we take some of these cryptids like that where people would hardly believe, and we get some proof that yes, they do exist. And that's what I'm hoping for. That would be very fast. That would be mind blowing if we would be able to get that figured out. So we will see what happens and stuff like that. So now let's get into some of the. Oh, I knew there was one I was missing. Uh-oh. I knew there was. I forgot some of the prep work I wanted to have. So of the crackers. Oh, there. Okay, that's right. I had to go to bees. There we go. No, no. No, I don't want the picture. I want the article. Where is the picture? Where is the picture? Where is the picture? There it is. Let's see. The other things I put aside are not loading at the moment. That's not good. Uh-oh. All right, we might have to come back to. We might have to reset this up later. So, there's a chance I probably did talk about this one a little bit in a brief episode. Hold on, let's see if I can try to. Okay, let's the cryptids. Sorry, I had to reset some of this up that was working. Okay, that one's fixed. Okay, don't know why they all started to try to be jerks around the same time. Okay, then fix this one. Okay, come on, Google. There we go. Okay, this one was in the K's. Okay, we're all back set. Okay, so if I talked about this one a little bit in the Australian cryptid episodes, I probably did a little bit, but I just want to go into at least maybe a little bit more. You know what? Let me look back real quick. Australian cryptid episode, Chupacabra, Lizardman. Oh, here we go. Australian raptors. So other Barunjor. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I did talk about this one before, but we'll briefly go over this one a little bit, where I talked about the Barunjor. I'm just in case if they say if the Australians say like Barunjor or something like that. But yeah, so it was like an Australian kind of like cryptid, kind of like that, similar to the shape of like a T-Rex in a way, where it had 20, it was like 20 to 25 feet long, and just kind of looked like a small T-Rex. Small in comparison to how big the creature truly could have been, at least maybe like double that length or more in a way. But of course, there were sightings of the creature back in the 50s, 1950s, and 1980s. And so let's kind of read a little. Let's read a little thing about it right here. So, okay. The Barunjor is an Australian dinosaur cryptid that resembles the theropod dinosaur Tyrannosaurus rex, but may be descendant of Megaraptorids. Interesting. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. Like Megaraptor or Raptor, but also could be a dinosaur that is not far has not have so far not appeared in fossil record. The Barunjor is described as being a giant lizard according to the Aboriginal mythology. Based on sightings, it is 20 to 25 feet long, has small clawed hands, and is biped in nature. Throughout the 1950s, Australian cattle ranchers reported a large creature leaving bipedal tracks and was seen eating their livestock. Also, earlier Aboriginal accounts suggest that it is a reptilian animal, possibly with feathers, whose diet consisted of kangaroos and other large animals. If it was not for the biped footprints, the Barunjor could have been mistaken for Megalania, which we mentioned before, a prehistoric giant monitor lizard that lived in the area more recently, based on Aboriginal descriptions. So there are supposedly stories of this creature, terrorizing people for farmers and even of course the Aboriginal people. The Aboriginal people who have been here for a very long time and much longer than when Europeans came and started to colonize the areas. They are the original people of Australia. They lived here for a very long time, and obviously they have a better idea of what truly does live in the bush, especially the more desert and not deserted part, more remote parts of the bush. So the last known recording of the sighting, the last known sighting of the Barunja happened in 1985 when a family was traveling the Roper or Roper River. Not really sure how. They reported seeing a 20-foot long monster covered in feathers. Another report tells a man, Brian Clark, who went to the woods and got lost sometime during 1978. After the alarm was raised, he was tracked by policemen and two Aboriginal bushmen. Trackers woke up one night to a loud, thunderous sound and ground shaking. After finding the wayward traveler, the policeman later told the man that if he ever went back to the woods and got lost, they would not come back looking for him. Some think that the sound of the stomping of the Barunjor. However, a light-footed theropod dinosaur would not crash around the undergrowth in this manner, despite what certain Spielberg movies would have the public to believe. So the whole like the boom boom, how they were, but who knows? I mean, there are some footage. There is an Aboriginal drawing that looks like it's something that drawing some sort of foot of some weird three-toed foot, which goes along with descriptions. Hold on, what is this? Rexiorite, Brenda is a giant biped creature. That is a pretty big track. I'm not gonna lie. But very interesting. There is this possible track of the Barunjor also there, but who truly knows what if the Barunjor is still around? What was it? What is it? Kind of thing. But but still very cool because sure, Barunjor. Barunjor could kind of be around the same thing as like Mokele Mbembe. When I'll briefly mention this because I mentioned it before in the Mokele Mbembe episode. If you haven't heard it before, go give it a listen. But Mokele Mbembe, when is it like the people the native people of that area are used to seeing the creature. They've heard stories about it for generations and know what it is and know what it looks like. When people went down there and started showing, like, okay, we're going to show you a bunch of pictures of animals, trying to see if it could, if they're thinking of maybe if Mokele Mbembe could have been misidentified as a modern day animal. And they're like, okay. So they started showing them a bunch of pictures, of like rhinos, elephants, giraffes, crocodiles, modern day animals that you would find in Africa. And as they're flipping through it and they're all saying no, the guy flips to one page and they all start going Mokele Mbembe. They're all pointing at this one picture. And when you look, the picture that they're all pointing at viciously was a picture of like a brachiosaurus, and it has like a long necked dinosaur. Like that's it. That's the creature. Out of all the other animals, like they know what a crocodile looks like. They know what all these animals are. And yet, when they saw that dinosaur, they all pointed. It's like that's it, that's Mokele Mbembe. So I'm like, huh? Because like I've mentioned before, people who live in these areas have no real reason to lie. They're not going to get anything out of it from doing anything like that. They are just going there and doing. They are just living their lives, and they are just telling people, this is what I experienced. This is what I saw. And whether or not people truly believe it or not, that's up to them. But that's up to those people. But to them, the people that live and see this creature, they know what it is. They know it exists. They don't need any fame. They'll be like, oh yeah, I saw Mokele Mbembe just yesterday, and they're like, but so you're not like making they have no reason to lie. So same idea for the Barunjor. These are people who have lived in the bush of Australia for so many years. They know what animals look like, and yet when they start saying there are stories of them seeing this creature, and then like modern day people also seeing it, maybe there's a bit more to it than just that, because so much of Australia, especially the central part of it, are probably not even like barely like visited like at all, because like the most of Australia, where most people live, are on the coast, the outskirting parts of Australia. No one really lives in Central Australia because of how just and how difficult it is to live out there. So, and also Australia is huge. Australia size to US images. Australia itself is about the size is a little smaller than the United States. If not, maybe like very, very close. If you were to stretch it around a little bit, or maybe in the same size, is almost the exact size of the United States. And so that's pretty much the equivalent of people only saying that I only live on the outer skirts of Australia, and if no one lives in the central part, then there's probably so much undiscovered stuff that lives in the central part of Australia that we probably would never be able to even comprehend or even think about. So who knows what truly lives out there? Because I will save that for later. But very interesting nonetheless. So I heard of this one back when I was looking into dinosaur cryptids for my show. My right foot's asleep. This could be fun getting up later. And um, and now apparently there's a chance the story might be a hoax, or at least like a fake story, but I like to cross my fingers. So the next one we'll be talking about is the Kazi Rex, and it is supposedly another theropod dinosaur, a dinosaur like Cryptirex, where it lived in the Kazi Valley in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Africa, in Central Africa. Again, the Central Africa, the Congo. That's where the real good stuff seems to be. The most remote areas there. It's where a lot of scenes where these dinosaur cryptids in Africa seem to be. Let's see. So the most so I'm gonna give a brief. Oh, cool, my foot's coming back. But I'll give a brief overview of the story. So there was a man who was traveling. Screw. Let me just read the thing. One day in 1932, the experienced Swedish hunter John Johnson, okay, wanted to hunt a huge elephant. So he and his servant left their camp in Cape Town. They crossed the swamp until they were reaching the savannah in the Kaze Valley, which seemed desolate, as there were no animals anywhere. That was until a servant yelled in excitement when he saw two elephants. So Johnson got a shotgun ready, but something went wrong with them, and there are only two instead of an entire herd, because elephants like to travel in big herds, big family groups. They have a very well known family structure in elephants. About 44 meters away, there was something in the underbrush stalking the elephants. I always thought it was a rhino. And suddenly, and suddenly, this something, a strange creature, jumped. The servant dropped into the undergrowth, where Johnson was paralyzed. Where then shortly after that, a monstrous creature came out of the bush and took down one of the elephants and was eating it. All right, I'm not doing very good in trying to read it by recreating, but pretty much after this creature came, the servant was terrified, ran away screaming. The hunter passed out and fell on his back from the pure terror. After some amount of time, the man woke up to seeing this creature still eating the other animal, but luckily it hadn't noticed him yet. But then he was never able to get a picture of it, but was so terrified he ran away. And then there's also another possible sighting of the creature and everything else like that. But This creature has apparently been seen at least another time, possible sighting. Let's do this one. Okay, this one. Yeah. Robert Henderson was considered a great hunter and an expert zoologist who had over 100 animal heads that he himself had hunted during his safaris. Although everything is different now, it should be mentioned that hunting at the time was not considered a crime, but rather a hobby. In 1950, Robert Henderson thought about making a trip to Africa and the jungles of the Congo, ensuring that he wanted to find an exotic and never discovered species. However, the trip was delayed for a year due to the death of his wife. In August 1951, Henderson made a trip to Africa in the Kaze Valley. The town of Matumbo Lamata, where Henderson had settled, said that hunting was the only thing that could make him smile after the death of his wife. With the help of 5 natives, Robert passed by the Kaze River in a jeep, because he knew that his prey was just beyond it. The safari was considered to be about 6 days, and it would camp so that Henderson had enough time to hunt. However, after the 6th day, people didn't see them coming back. So they waited a few more days, thinking that they didn't come back because it had rained, and the river had gotten bigger. They still didn't come back. So a group of 10 people from the village and 5 people from military regiment were sent to find them. The next day, they found traces of a camp, some seeming to be initial base of Robert and his group. The rescue group estimated that they were there for 2 days. It was thought that Henderson had gone to the depths of the Kaze Valley to hunt something else, since they had already found the skin of a gazelle near the camp. The rescue group camped there the next morning. Where they continued their search. The strange thing is that the valley seemed desolate. There were no signs of life anywhere. But after having walking several kilometers, they found Robert and his group, but not in the way they expected. A massacre had happened. They had found a temporary camp which was completely destroyed. About 10 meters away, there were several pieces of Robert's companions with limbs and heads everywhere, some being crushed and torn and with torn flesh. The remains were mixed up, so it was so impossible to tell which one belonged to who. Of Robert, it was only a forearm and his hand included, in bad condition, but nothing else was ever found. An investigation of the case was made. The official version of the events gave 2 hypotheses. The first one, that they had been caused by illegal hunter, was caused by illegal hunters, presumably ivory traffickers, but the marks on the bodies did not match up with bullets or knives. The second hypothesis was that they were an animal that killed Robert and his group. And unfortunately, though, after all these years, it was never concluded on what actually happened. All they can see that something huge and possibly heavy went through the camp and destroyed it. Now, apparently, though, apparently these stories were apparently possible hoaxes of the creature, because who wouldn't love to seeing a big dinosaur, in a remote part of Africa? I don't know. Sure, the original photo of the creature was obviously fake, but I would hate to think that the whole story itself was a complete fake, because it's such a unique story and it's so fascinating. Like, sure, this may have been it may not have been that super duper long ago, and sure, the possible theory of people maybe making things up, especially with the whole Bigfoot thing not truly had sunken in yet, but people kind of making up stories to give themselves a little bit of a limelight, a little bit. So I don't know. I would like to think that the stories are true of the Kaze Rex, that it truly did, or hopefully if it does still exist in the Kaze Valley in Africa. It would be very cool if that really was the case, but unfortunately, I may never. No one may ever truly know what truly. My foot's asleep again. May never truly truly know. So the next one, there's not as much about this one, but there is one story of possibly of saber-toothed cats. Because saber-toothed cats were, there are fossil records to exist that these cats existed after the time of the dinosaurs. After all the dinosaurs got nuked by the meteor, and then mammals started coming out of the woodwork. We all differently had like elephants and horses and all these other modern day animals come out. And then of course, we had then, like the saber-toothed cats, the big cats with the big old saber teeth, the long teeth that they would have, they would sink their prey into and everything. I do remember hearing of a story. I don't remember where. I hear a lot of stories on some of these podcasts where people have reported, have submitted their reports of real things that supposedly real things that they have seen. And of course, and then there's one. So the one story that was there was a person who was. I really don't remember. I would like to think that maybe somewhere in like Russia or that part of the world, maybe. But the person was exploring, and again, I don't remember the full story. I'm just giving you a brief thing of it. They were going around, and there was this cave, this mountain area where this person swears on their life that they saw a big cat coming out of this cave, but it didn't look like any normal cat that would be around today. It had two very long front fangs, like the teeth of a saber-toothed tiger, and that's what the guy saw. I don't remember there being any more like there was any confrontation with the creature or anything else like that. I believe it scared him so much the guy then left the area. So there's that. Then there's of course the whole pterosaur like things of people saying they've seen all these different pterosaurs all around the earth and everything. The Texas and West Coast. Some people say that while they were driving along the West Coast, they would look over and look like something that didn't look like a seagull, any modern day bird, something that was big and had a very leathery looking shape with bat like wings and like a little crest coming out the back of its head, like that generic pterodactyl pterosaur like look. And then of course, we then have another cryptid that I believe again in the Dominican Republic of Congo yet again. It's got those dinosaur cryptids. We have the Mahamba, which is pretty much like a modern day version of the ancient species of crocodiles or crocodilians that used to exist. And the estimated size of the creature was supposed to be about 50 feet in length, which is about the size of what this creature used to actually live like. Now, sure, could it possibly be something of 50 feet? Oh, possibly not. Could it still be possibly a very big species of crocodile? Sure. There are stories in parts of Africa and in the Philippines of crocodiles that were of 25, 30 feet or longer. Like all those years ago, the Lalanche, I believe, was a crocodile. There was a whole TV special about where they caught a 20-foot crocodile that weighed over like I think over a ton or so, and they caught and kept in captivity. Well, there have been stories that there was actually a bigger one around possibly 29 feet also in that area, which they briefly may have gone a look of it with like a brief look at its tail when they were trying to capture it. So could it be that 50 feet? Probably not, but who's to say? Because unfortunately, if you were to have like an animal that was 50 feet in length like that, it would need a considerable amount of big food to do it. It would need more than just a simple gazelle or something like that. It would need like a rhino or a hippo or a lot more bigger prey to really be able to sustain its massive size. But could it be a crocodile that's like maybe 30 feet long, 35? Maybe that's more probable. Even though that is almost very hard to believe as well. But definitely something that is very unique, very fascinating. Giant animal stories are always very fascinating, which then leads into Next week, we will be doing giant animals. There are so many interesting stories of giant animals, giant insects, giant all these other things in so many different parts of the world that it'd be hard to ignore them. The last thing I'm going to mention before we wrap up today is if you've never heard of it, there were these stones that were found called the Inca stones or Ica stones, which portrayed dinosaurs and humans coexisting in some way. Now, the original story was that these stones were found. There were hundreds of these, portraying dinosaurs and people living together. Like in some ways, like them, like them using them as like cattle or like herding, and just humans and people together. Originally, I thought these were true, but reports are saying that these stones were actually fake, made by the original person who supposedly found them, and made them as a thing to sell to tourists. It's like, ooh, look at these things, like humans and dinosaurs living together, so mysterious. You come by them. I don't know. Part of me still wants to believe that they are real, but I'm pretty sure the guy pretty much straight up convinced that yeah, they are fake. I made them for tourists. I'm like, come on, man. The idea that there was a stone, all these different stones that looked like they were meticulously crafted on there, showing that dinosaurs and people living together, showing that dinosaurs lived much longer than people had suggested, was such a fascinating idea. And then this guy is like, "Nah, you had dreams. Nah, I poo on your dreams." Like, so those stones are true, but I would really hate that. But and of course, there's a few other dinosaur stories I have heard, which I'll do one more real quick. Um, I believe it was somewhere in the United States. A family, Christmas Eve night, heard a commotion outside. Child wanted to look outside. Saw these two little raptor-like creatures like playing in the snow. It's like, kind of thing. Dad comes over and sees what this child's looking at. They're like, oh my gosh. The mother also decides to look at a different window and is watching the same thing. Moments later, a bigger version of it comes. I can't remember exactly, but I feel like I remember hearing that it had like white fur or hair or feathers on it, or something along those lines, or something. I can't fully remember. But of course, then I guess the mother notices the people looking at it, growls at the people a little bit. The little ones go back into the woods, and the big one then soon follows. So there was a bit more of the story, but that's like the really important part of the story, where this whole family saw this look like a raptor-like dinosaur outside during the winter. So, are dinosaurs truly extinct? I don't believe so. And now, in what form are they not extinct in? They're probably completely different from what they were before, or somehow evolution's like, no, we're gonna stick around and tough it out a little bit longer. I don't know, but all these stories now, all these people can't possibly be lying, because if they all are, that would stink. But I would like to think that most people are not lying, and a lot of these people are truly seeing these fascinating, impressive things in this world. But only time will tell, because until we can look at every inch of the ocean, of land, underground, all at the same time, we could have anything living or hiding in this world of ours. We really could. And I believe in some way dinosaurs are still around somehow. In some way, somehow. There's enough stories and some weird evidence to suggest that there is something about it. But only time will tell to see if we are truly real or not. And that's it, folks. That's the episode. Actually did a lot better with this one than I thought. I didn't think we'd be getting this close to an hour. Probably even get a little bit over it. So yahoo! Good go us. So I hope everyone enjoyed this one. I know that most people are probably like, "Oh, dinosaurs living tonight." Nah, that can't be true. And it may not be, but there's people seeing stuff enough that I think should at least be not thrown away the idea so quickly. At least considered a little bit more than some other stuff. But I hope everyone did enjoy this episode. Hopefully, maybe you learned a little bit, or at least slightly be more open-minded to the possibility that some of these people might actually be seeing living dinosaurs today. But I hope everyone has a good day, good weekend, and of course, make sure if you haven't already, follow follow my Facebook page, and of course, like subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 50 subscribers by the end of the year, so share. Let your friends know about this podcast where I talk about cryptozoology and all the fun stuff in between, in and around it. I hope everyone has a good weekend, and always, of course, remember, keep your ears and eyes open for the creepiness in store, because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been Cryptid Talk with Michael Madden. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all.